Hello, we finally come to the end of this presentation, and this part of the cardiovascular system presentation. I'll be talking about describing the major vessels of the arterial system and the venous system. So let us get started. So this is a big picture. As we hear, this is a heart. Regarding the arterial system, all of the arteries in the body, they are branches from the aorta. So from the left side or the left ventricle, uh, the arch of the aorta or ascending aorta, then ascending, then arch, and then descending aorta. The arch provide or give three branches, which are brachiocephalic trunk. The brachiocephalic trunk is going to divide into right common carotid and right subclavian, and the second branch is left common carotid and left subclavian. The carotid arteries will supply the head and neck region. The subclavian arteries will supply the upper limb region. Then the aorta will continue as descending aorta. It has thoracic segment that will supply all the viscera and the wall of the thorax, and then will continue as abdominal aorta that will also provide blood supply to the wall of the abdomen, anterior and posterior, as well all the viscera in the abdomen, digestive system, urinary system, and so on. And then finally we'll divide into two common iliac arteries, sorry, and these common iliac arteries are going to divide into internal iliac and external iliac. The two internal iliac will supply the viscera and as well the wall of the pelvis. So the end organs in the urinary system and digestive system and the walls of the pelvis, the genital system, and as well um, the external iliac will continue as femoral artery that will supply the lower limbs. Okay, so this is a general picture, but we need to go into details a little bit. So as you see here, this is a heart here, and this is the side of the left ventricle, and this is the aorta. The aorta has like three main segments. This is called ascending aorta, okay, and this is the arch of aorta, and this is the descending aorta. So as you see here, in the ascending aorta, we have uh, the exit of the coronary arteries, the right coronary artery and the left coronary artery that provide blood supply to the heart itself. These two arteries are branches from the ascending aorta. In the arch of aorta, it has three main branches, which are brachiocephalic trunk, sorry, and then left common carotid and left subclavian. The brachiocephalic trunk is going to divide into right common carotid and right subclavian. As I said, the subclavian, right and left, they supply the upper limbs, and the common carotid, they supply the area of the head and neck. Okay, and you need to remember in this part, which is arch of aorta, we have the baroreceptors, which are blood pressure receptors. Then you have the descending aorta. Descending aorta uh, will continue forming the thoracic aorta, then abdominal aorta, and we'll see the different branches from the thoracic and abdominal aorta later on. Okay, we also have here the pulmonary trunk, which leaves the right ventricle, and it will divide into right and left pulmonary arteries. Both will send the low oxygenated blood that mainly contains carbon dioxide to the lungs for purpose of oxygenation. Okay, so the pulmonary trunk carries deoxygenated blood to the lungs through the right and left pulmonary arteries. Okay, again, uh, here this is descending aorta will form the thoracic aorta that supply all the vessels in the thorax and as well the wall of the thoracic, the thoracic cage, and will continue as abdominal aorta that will provide supply to the walls and the abdominal organs, and finally will divide into two common iliac arteries. Okay. Regarding the area of the head and neck, as we said, the brachiocephalic in the right side and left common carotid in the left side. The brachiocephalic will divide to give rise to right common carotid and right subclavian. The right common carotid will ascend in the neck, and then opposite to C6 will divide to internal carotid artery and external carotid artery. The internal carotid artery has no branches in the neck, and it ascends to get into the skull through the foramen magnum, supply the brain, to share in the blood supply of the brain. It is the main source of blood supply to the brain. And the external carotid artery gives many branches, like 6 branches. These branches, they supply the area of the head and neck. Okay. We have also another very important branch, which is a branch of subclavian. Subclavian, that artery or that vessel will supply the upper limb. It has one branch which is called vertebral artery. This vertebral artery will ascend through intervertebral foramina of the cervical vertebrae until it gets into the skull, inside the skull, to supply the brain. Sorry, I mentioned the internal carotid will get to the brain through the foramen magnum. No, it will not go through the foramen magnum. It will ascend through the jugular foramen. Okay, carotid foramen. Sorry, carotid canal and foramen. Okay, so it has its own opening or foramen that will allow this artery to get into the brain. Okay, and the basilar will also ascend to supply and to share in the supply of the brain. Okay, so here this is the circulophilis, which is made by anastomosis between the internal carotid arteries, right and left, and the basilar artery. This is the basilar artery. The basilar is made by confluence of right and left vertebral arteries. We see them in the previous slide. The vertebral arteries unite together to form the basilar artery. The basilar will provide blood supply, and both vertebral arteries and basilar, they will provide blood supply to the brainstem and cerebellum. Okay, and will share in the formation of circulophilis. Okay, so on the other side we have the internal carotid that will also participate in formation of circulophilis. Circulophilis will provide blood supply to the cerebrum, mainly the cerebrum. Okay, so the brain is supplied by branches from internal carotid artery and vertebral arteries that will form the basilar artery through formation of circulophilis. Regarding the upper limb, we said that the upper limb is supplied from the subclavian. When the subclavian crosses the clavicle, its name will change into axillary because it will enter the axilla or armpit. Then it will give different branches, and its name will change when it comes to the brachium or the arm, mid-arm. Its name will change into the brachial artery, and this is one of the sites of pulsation of the arteries in the upper limb, which is brachial artery, and we use it for measuring of the blood pressure. Okay, so the brachial artery will divide into two arteries, which are radial artery and ulnar arteries. Both, they will supply the forearm, and finally they will supply, or distally they will supply the hand. Okay, so let us say that generally speaking, the upper limbs are supplied by branches from subclavian artery, which is a branch of, in the right side, brachiocephalic. In the left side, it's a direct branch from the arch of aorta. When we come to the thorax and thoracic region, the thoracic aorta is going to provide arteries to supply the wall thoracic wall, okay, through like 12 pair of arteries. We call them intercostal arteries, posterior intercostal arteries, and as well it provides blood supply, direct blood supply to the lungs, to the uh, other parts of the esophagus, okay, and other organs in the thorax. When it comes to the abdomen, after penetrating the diaphragm, which is found here, the diaphragm muscle, the muscle sheet that separates the thorax from the abdomen, and descending aorta is going to penetrate the diaphragm, and its name will change from thoracic into abdominal aorta. The abdomen, it gives various branches, some of them to the digestive system. Mainly we have the superior mesenteric artery, okay, which supply the liver, spleen, and the stomach, okay, duodenum, and we have the inferior mesenteric artery, which provide blood supply to the small intestine and large intestine, okay. And we also have renal arteries, which supply both kidneys, and suprarenal arteries. These are small branches supply the suprarenal gland, okay. And the abdominal aorta also provide gonadal artery that supply both gonads in male or in female, okay, testes and ovaries in male and in female, gonadal arteries. And also the abdominal aorta provide branches that supply the wall. We call them lumbar arteries that supply the abdominal wall, okay. So we have celiac trunk, sorry, superior mesenteric, inferior mesenteric, and gonadal, renal, suprarenal, and lumbar arteries. These are the main branches of abdominal aorta that supply the viscera in the abdomen. Finally, the abdominal aorta divide into two common iliac arteries. Okay, the common iliac arteries are going to divide into internal iliac artery and external iliac artery, right and left. The internal iliac arteries get inside the pelvis, and this is the external iliac artery, descend to supply the lower limb. After it leaves the pelvis or the abdomen, it will go beneath the inguinal ligament, and its name will change into femoral artery, which is the main blood supply for the lower limbs, okay. But the internal iliac artery is going to divide into anterior branch and posterior branch. Both branches will supply the wall of the pelvis, and as well they supply the pelvic viscera like the urinary bladder, prostate, seminal vesicle, the inferior, the lower part of the GI, the rectum, okay. So all these organs are supplied by branches of internal iliac artery, okay. The external iliac, as I said, after emerging beneath the inguinal ligament, its name will change into femoral artery. Femoral artery is the main supply for the lower limb. It supplies the thigh, and then it goes behind the knee joint, and its name will change into popliteal artery. The popliteal artery will give two branches, anterior and posterior tibial arteries, and as well the femoral artery, okay. The anterior tibial will supply the anterior compartment of the leg, and the posterior tibial will provide blood supply for the posterior compartment of the leg, and the fibular will provide blood supply for the lateral compartment of the leg, and the anterior tibial artery will change its name into dorsalis pedis, and this is one of the sites of checking the pulse in the lower limb, which is dorsalis pedis. And the posterior tibial is will form the posterior tibial artery, which we can also palpate it uh, uh, behind the medial calcaneum, okay. uh, so all the lower limb is supplied by, or most of the lower limb is supplied by, except the gluteal region here, supplied by the femoral arteries. Okay, so these are the main arteries that supply the body, which are all of them branches from aorta. Then we have the venous system. The venous system, or the venous pathway, characterized by, in most of the cases, the major arteries are followed by veins that they have the same name. So internal carotid, we have internal carotid. External carotid, we have external carotid. We have renal arteries, we have renal veins. Okay. So in most of the cases, the arteries, the great arteries, they are followed by veins. They have the same names. Okay. But not like the arteries. We have so many veins, so many smaller veins, and most of them are unnamed. Okay. And the veins drain into the smaller veins or venules drain into the bigger veins, and the bigger veins, all of them, they drain into either superior vena cava or inferior vena cava. All the systemic venous system drains into either superior vena cava or inferior vena cava, and as you know, both of them drain into the right atrium or the right side of the heart. Okay. So again, this is the general picture. This is superior vena cava receiving from the upper limbs, head and neck region. So superior vena cava receiving the blood coming back from the head and neck and the brain, and as well the upper limbs. And the lower limbs, pelvis, abdomen, and the thorax, all of them, they drain into the inferior vena cava, which also at the end drain into the right atrium. So this is a general picture, and the venous system follow the arterial system. But we have a lot of smaller branches that they don't have even names, but there are too many venules and veins. So regarding the area of the head and neck, uh, as we said, we have common carotid artery that divide into external and internal iliac arteries. We also have right and left internal jugular veins. The jugular veins follow the carotid arteries. Okay, we have the external jugular vein, internal, sorry. This is the main vessel that we can see following the common carotid. And we have the external jugular vein, okay? And the internal jugular vein receives the blood also from the brain, not only the head and neck region, also from the brain, okay? And uh, so this is the internal jugular. Regarding the upper limb, all the veins at the end, they drain to form the subclavian. So on the right side and in the left side, the subclavian will join the internal jugular to form the brachiocephalic. So we have right brachiocephalic and left brachiocephalic, and both brachiocephalic veins will form the superior vena cava. Okay. Regarding the upper limb, we have superficial system and deep system. Okay, like also the lower limb, both of them. The veins do not directly drain into the venous system. No, we have deep veins that follow the arteries near the bones, and we have superficial veins that we can see in the upper limbs and in the lower limbs. So the superficial veins, we have the digital veins in the hand, in the dorsum of the hand, that will drain into ulnar and radial veins, and these two veins will drain into the brachial vein and finally into the subclavian vein. Okay, the superficial veins, uh, they will anastomose in the palm and the wrist, and at the end they will drain into what is called basilic and cephalic veins. These are very famous two veins, and the basilic vein join the brachial vein and the cephalic vein join the axillary veins. Okay, and the veins in the abdomen, also we have the veins that drain the thoracic wall and the abdominal wall, and all of them they will for especially in the thoracic region they will form the azygous and hemazygous veins, and the azygous and hemazygous veins will drain to superior vena cava. We'll see that in minutes. So the deep systems, we have ulnar vein, radial vein, both will form the brachial vein, and the brachial vein will form the axillary vein. The superficial veins, mainly from the medial part, we have the basilic vein, which is going to drain into the brachial. And we have the cephalic vein, which extend up to the axillary vein and drain into the axillary vein here. Okay, so superficial and deep venous system in the upper limbs. These are the veins that drain the thoracic wall and also the abdominal wall. All of them, they will form the azygous system in the right side and the hemazygous system in the left side. Okay, and as we can also see here in this picture, the subclavian, which drains all the upper limbs, superficial and deep veins, will join the internal jugular vein to form the right brachiocephalic. So this is a right brachiocephalic vein. In the left side, again, this is the left brachiocephalic vein. So the right and left brachiocephalic vein, they will join each other to form the superior vena cava. The azygous and hemazygous, which drain the walls of the thorax and abdomen, both they will drain into the superior vena cava. So superior vena cava receives the blood from head and neck, upper limbs, and the thoracic and abdominal walls. What is unique about the abdominal venous system is that the venous blood received from the large intestine, small intestine, stomach, spleen, pancreas, all this blood will drain into what is called portal vein. Okay, portal vein. The portal vein receives the venous blood coming from all the digestive system, pancreas and spleen, and drain this blood into the liver. So the liver is very unique because it receives venous blood and as well it receives arterial blood coming from the celiac trunk. Okay, so the liver receives dual blood supply, arterial blood supply, and as well venous blood supply. And the liver drains through the hepatic veins into the inferior vena cava. So here, this is the inferior vena cava. Okay, so what is unique about the venous blood coming from the digestive system is that the venous blood carries the absorbed nutrients that were absorbed from the GI. Some of them absorbed from the stomach, small intestine, large intestine. All these substances, lipids, proteins, carb, minerals, vitamins, and so on and so forth. All these substances, nutrients, drain through different veins into the portal vein. So the portal vein is the richest blood in the body with nutrients, the richest vessel in the body with nutrients. Okay, and as you know that the liver is the main site of metabolism. All the cells and tissues, they have processes of metabolism, anabolism, and catabolism, but the main organ that is responsible for control and regulation of metabolism is the liver. Okay, so this is very unique about the venous drainage of the digestive system. All of it drains into the portal vein and finally into the liver. As you can see here, in this diagram, this is the heart, the right side, this is superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. The inferior vena cava receives from the head and neck region from the upper limb regions. Okay, both they drain into the superior vena cava, and the superior vena cava drains into the right atrium. The lower limbs, or the inferior vena cava receives blood from the hepatic, from the liver, and from the renal, from the trunk, okay, thoracic and abdomen, as well from the pelvis and the lower limb. All these blood drain into the inferior vena cava that finally drain into the right atrium. And from the right atrium, it goes to the right ventricle From the right ventricle, it goes to the lung for oxygenation. It comes back through the pulmonary veins into the left atrium, and from the left atrium to the left ventricle, from the left ventricle to the aorta to supply all the body. Aorta supply the heart itself through the coronary arteries, supply the GI through many branches, okay, or abdomen, supply the kidney through renal arteries, supply the pelvis through internal iliac artery, supply the lower limb through continuation of external iliac artery. Uh, so this diagram shows the schematic of the cardiovascular system, showing the hepatic and portal veins as well. Regarding the lower limbs, as I said, it is very similar to the upper limb. We have a deep set of veins coming from the foot, anterior and posterior tibial veins. They will form the anterior and posterior tibial veins. The tibial veins will form the popliteal veins, and the popliteal veins will form the femoral vein. Femoral vein will form the external iliac vein. Okay. The superficial set of veins will drain into from the foot into, they will form like two veins. One is called small saphenous vein, and the other one is called great saphenous vein. Both great and small saphenous veins will drain into uh, uh, the femoral vein. Okay, as you see here, this is anterior tibial, posterior tibial. Okay, and this is the femoral vein. Okay, this is a great saphenous vein, drains into the femoral vein. The small saphenous vein drains into the popliteal vein. So this is a venous blood coming from the dorsum of the foot through the legs, thigh, and finally into the external iliac vein that will join the internal iliac vein to form the inferior vena cava. So the inferior vena cava is formed at the lower margin of the abdomen, between the abdomen and pelvis. Okay. Finally, you know that a lot of changes that occur in the cardiovascular system, and mostly at the end of the day, they will affect the heart and the blood vessels, leading to various diseases. But as you know, one of the common and serious problems is the deposition of cholesterol into the blood vessels. The coronary arteries are going to narrow with age, and the heart may shrink slightly and enlarge due to diseases. A proportion of the heart consisting of cardiac muscle may decline, and instead the cardiac muscle are going to be replaced by fibrous connective tissue and also adipose tissue. Okay, the heart valves and the left ventricle wall may uh, become thicker due to pressure in the blood vessels. Because of the pressure, the left ventricle will get large, and increase in the systolic blood pressure will take place because of the resistance in the vascular system, and also the decrease in resting heart rate. The lumen of the large arteries will narrow, and the arterial wall will get thicker because of the pressure of the blood, and with the aging, as this is a normal process. And finally, decrease in arterial elasticity will take place, and all these changes will probably affect the blood pressure of the heart and the cardiac output and contractility of the heart. So these are normal physiological changes. By this slide, we finish the cardiovascular system. Thank you.